Hello, it's time for Yasai Ninja. Again, you may remember last time that Kaoru got a new attack. He has a new 3-hit combo. We just press square 3 times. His 3-hit combo is way better than Broccoli Joe's, and it's now the fastest way to kill enemies. I said this game had a shifting meta in the first video where the characters go up and down in usefulness. Well, now it's Kaoru's time to shine. As I promised, his 3-hit combo is very, very overpowered for this part in the game. Not only does Kaoru's new combo kill enemies much, much faster, but you may have noticed that he zips to the nearest enemy while he's using it. So you can beat all of the fights in this level just by mashing square as Kaoru. It may not be very stimulating, but I do like how Kaoru is the most useful character now. If you do bother to experiment with the two characters, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much their movesets change. So the gimmick of this level is to free all of the Leak Warriors. There are 13 in total, and we have to free them using Broccoli Joe's power to force mechanisms open. 13 may sound like a lot, but all of the Leak Warriors are very obvious. They're right in your path. The quick time events we have to do to force mechanisms open slowly get more complex and less patient. Unlike Kaoru's block pushing, you can't really make the block pushing more difficult as time goes on, but you can make quick time events more difficult as time goes on. So that's not particularly balanced. We do get shoved over a lot easier by the archers when we're playing as Kaoru, but we can retaliate so quickly that it's not very important. So this level, when I played it with my brother, is the one we spent the longest on because of my brother's incompetence, and I'm not saying that to be mean. But he kept falling down pits over and over, and this level took around 40 minutes because he wouldn't stop falling down pits. So that's what I remember this level for the most. As you've seen, the 3D platforming in this game is really breezy and easy to control too, so he didn't have much of an excuse. He also drowned me in water at least one time. There were a lot of mistakes made in this level. Fortunately, I'm well practiced in the game, so we don't have to worry about that. This isn't one of my favorite levels. It feels a little bit like a filler level, except for one particular 3D platforming segment, which really is probably the part of the level that's the most memorable. If you're a normal person, the thing I remember most about this level is my brother falling down pits a lot. But yeah, there is one really cool 3D platforming segment in this level that I enjoy. But aside from that, I don't like the level too much. I think it's the only level I'd really call filler, because all the other levels have some things that are interesting about them beyond just a single platforming segment. I do think the environments in this game look quite nice, by the way. I know they're very simple, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the graphics. They're very cartoony, so it's kinda hard to outmode them, if that makes sense. They're really cartoony, so you can't complain they're not realistic enough, and the details are fine for what the game is. I wouldn't watch a film with these graphics, but there's nothing really wrong with them. You know, they're pleasant to look at, they're not bad on the eyes. It is a real shame to be able to see so much love in this game. I mean, the developer clearly had an affinity, a love for old kung fu movies, and general Asian culture, and they really wanted to make something out of that, something cheesy and goofy, and I think they did, but it's really hard to recommend this game to normal people. This is a game you play because you like it and think it's cute, not because you want a really, really good game. I don't know how to call this game on a scale or anything, really. I don't know if I'd call it good, I don't know if I'd call it average, I don't know if I'd call it okay. It just is what it is. Like I said, I'd call it cute above all else, and there's nothing horrendously bad about it. It all works okay. I think the cuteness factor is enough for me. I think the idea of these weird vegetable characters in a kung fu movie hack and slash is enough for me. That's all I really need. It helps that the game works, though. I admire that the developer didn't want the player to have an unpolished or frustrating experience. They wanted you to be able to play through the game just fine. The game may have been more noteworthy if it included a lot more harrowing challenges and more complex combat mechanics, but I think it may be beyond the developer's skill level as they are right now to make that stuff work in design. So even though it might be more impressive from an ambition standpoint, it would probably make the game a lot more frustrating to play. But what's here, you know, it works. And I think that's important. I wouldn't want this game to include parries or slow motion dodge rolls or counterattacks where your weapons have to strike at the same time or any more complex combat mechanics like that, because I don't think they could pull it off as they are right now. The dodge and block buttons don't really do anything, so them trying to tackle more complex mechanics like that probably wouldn't go so well. I want them to keep making games though, because I have faith that they'll improve with each new game they make, and that would be really nice to see. It probably wasn't in their best interest to release a game, to release this game specifically. I'm glad they did because I like it, and I think it's adorable, but it probably wasn't in their best interest to release this game specifically. I think they should have waited until they were more experienced first. Maybe release this game as a freebie, as a proof of concept, and then work on their skills until they could build up to something that people would be more comfortable paying money for. I was perfectly comfortable paying $5 for this. I think this game is worth $5, especially since it's 10 levels long, which is more than I expected. Right here we're going to encounter a new enemy type in the form of radishes, and these radishes have one gimmick, that gimmick being that they go really fast. This would make them a lot harder to fight if we were playing as Broccoli Joe, but as Kaoru we can just keep mashing square like we always do, and they'll go down without a fight. So yeah, they're a good enemy in concept, and I like how they appear out of the bushes like that. I think that's really cool. But since we're using Kaoru, they're no problem. As I was saying, it probably would have been in the development team's best interest to release this one as a freebie, but I don't know how much money they put into this. I think $5 is more than reasonable for the length and the entertainment value here, but most people tend to see things a bit differently than I do, and most people would probably think the game is rather ugly and hard to play. They wouldn't be as patient with it. But I personally enjoy the game a lot, and that's why I'm playing it for you right now. That being said, this level does drag on for a bit, so let's skip to the part of the level with the really interesting 3D platforming I was talking about. My idea of really interesting and everyone else's idea of really interesting may vary a lot, but this platforming segment makes really good use of the co-op. The idea is that one of you mans the switches that control the platform, while the other one does the actual platforming. And it is the most difficult platforming in the game for sure. This is the part where my brother fell down over and over. And it is the most difficult platforming in the game, but it's not hard. This jump right here looks a lot further than it is, and that's where he kept falling down. I think he kept overestimating the length of that jump, because it's not nearly as scary as it looks. So after you get one character across the platforming segment, there's another lever over here, so that way you can help the other character across, and we're just gonna skip to when Broccoli Joe gets across. This upcoming section where radishes swarm you from all directions is really hard if you're playing as Broccoli Joe. Especially if you're still using that hit and run strategy with his force shove, because that move takes a while to activate. And like I said, a smashing square may not be the most engaging method of combat, but we won't be doing it the whole game. You know, this game doesn't have really complex shadows or lighting to it or anything. It does have really normal shadows that you'd expect from a game like this, an indie game like this. You know, the shadows work. Doesn't really have complex lighting or shadows or a wind that makes the grass blow or anything like that, but I think that's okay. After we push this block into the altar over here, we can skip this combat section and go straight to the end of the level. I think this is the only other combat section in the game that you can actually skip. Anyway, we're at the end now. This is the boss battle, and he's the typical big guy that runs himself into walls boss battle. You have to bait him into running into the walls. He starts up his roll really fast, though, surprisingly fast, so you gotta be prepared to get out of the way at a moment's notice. We switched to Broccoli Joe for this boss battle because his force shove is much better for dealing damage to bosses than Kaoru's 3-hit combo. Because the force shove deals a lot of damage and we can spam it over and over. It's much harder to spam on enemies that move, but because this boss incapacitates himself, we can spam it much easier on him. So you may be a little curious what these pits full of water around the arena are for, and I'm not sure. Back when I first played this game, I thought the pits had something to do with the boss strategy, but they don't. Even when the big guy walks into the pits, nothing happens. So it's a little strange. This isn't a bad boss, and much like everything else in the game, it works. But you've seen this gimmick done before, I'm sure, and there's no twist on it or anything like that. You just have to lure the guy into smacking into the wall like you do with all the others. I mean, the Rhino boss fight in Spider-Man on the PS1 was a really nice take on this boss fight with a lot of nuances to it. But like I said, I think trying anything too complex might be out of this developer's range for now. This game would have been really good as a freebie, though I could see people enjoying it for free. It's just about where you set your expectations, I think. Why isn't he rolling? There he goes.